again, it's me just coming to you once again. I want to lift you up. I want to give you a word of encouragement today. Last time we shared, I talked to you a little bit about love, that love is in nature, that love is not just an emotion. We talked a little bit also about fear and how fear sets in when people believe themselves to be separated from the source of life. The Word of God teaches us that Jesus was without sin. The word sin doesn't mean, it's not talking about behavior. It's not talking about the expression. It's speaking of, it's missing the mark. That's what the word actually means. And Jesus never thought himself to be separate from the Father. In fact, he came and at one point during his ministry, the Jews took up stones to stone him. And he asked, "For which of these good works do you stone me?" And they said, "Not for any good work, but for blasphemy, because you, being a man, make yourself out to be God." And Jesus said, "Does it not say in your own law that you are gods and all of you children of the Most High?" See, here is where man misses the mark. They don't understand that we have this oneness with Father. It's a grace consciousness. And grace, again, as I taught before, is a word that means the divine influence upon the heart and the reflection in the life, especially gratitude. And when we understand that we are walking in oneness with him, that everything that we do, like Jesus said, "Of myself I can do nothing," that's the same as it is for us. But because we have concocted this idea in our mind with, once again, the left brain, the ego, the analyzer, that side of our being that wants to weigh and reason and say this is good and that's bad, this is bigger, better, or more. Those are all just extensions of believing that man is separate from the source. And the source is actually our heart. The source of life is where the energy flows out from the heart. And I just want to encourage people to try to get out in nature as much as you can. I've become such a person who I love the outdoors. I get outside every day as much as I can. I ride my bike 25 miles just about every day. I get out and lay in the sun as much as I can, simply because I know that vitamin D is such a good recharger for our bodies. Best way that you can get the vitamin D is through the sun. And not only that, but when you're out in nature, there's a harmony. There's a resonance of harmony. That you feel, a vibration in nature where everything is just in an agreement. It's in harmony. And I want to share also that scientists have actually come to a realization. They're coming into more of an understanding about the spiritual aspect of our being. And I was never really one to be interested in science before, but because I am so intrigued by the spirit, it's something that just moves me. I have such a desire and passion to understand that aspect of my being. And they actually did this experiment that I thought was really cool, and I just want to share it with you. They took a cylinder and they observed the photons or particles of light that were inside of this cylinder, and they were just scattered within it randomly. And then they took a sample of human DNA and they put it inside of the cylinder. And all of these photons aligned themselves to that DNA. That just blew my mind. It's like, the Word of God teaches us that he has given man dominion over the works of his hands. And this word dominion, it's not about having, it's not about being demanding or being a tyrant. It's about being in harmony. So when we get out in nature, there's just a natural flow that brings everything within our body back into a rhythm of harmony and peace. And if you can get out there when there's no lawnmowers running or chainsaws buzzing or anything like that, that's even better. But sometimes you have to weed out those distractions. So my point is that we are living in a world that we look at objects and we think everything is separate. We don't really realize that everything is energy. And energy is created at a vibration that is love. It's harmony. It's in coherence. It's cohesive. And man believes himself to be separate from each other. And with the ego, again, we tend to look at things as being bigger, better, more, or comparing or competing, when if we could just understand that we all vibrate at the level of love and harmony, and bring our gifts and our attributes to the whole to see, how can I bless? What can I do to contribute, to lift the consciousness, to help my brother to understand that he has life residing within him? You know, the Word of God teaches us that every man must work out his own salvation with fear and trembling before the Lord. For it is God all the while that is in him, both to do and to will according to his good pleasure. See, he doesn't leave us off on our own to figure it out. There's if I could say, a consciousness that every one of us has that brings us into a peace. It brings us into a harmony. And when we don't acknowledge that as part of our, and I don't even want to say part of, because it is what we are. This consciousness is literally what we are. When we acknowledge that and know that everything flows in a harmony together in an agreement, we learn to live life at a completely different point of view, point of reference. I've shared with you all that I'm coming to a kind of a crossroads in my life right now. And for a while I was feeling really kind of nervous, a little anxious, I guess, even about, you know, no longer having my children at home and not really having that hearth of the home, the heart that I've always been that person to bring, you know, my nurturing and my caring to my family. And now my children are about out of the house, and my daughter's going to be getting married shortly, and my son's moving into his own home. And I just feel like I've got all this energy and all this life and all this light and experience from all the years that I've, you know, taken in my dad and took care of him for the last 2 years before he passed away while he was ill. Taking in my nephew, who after my sister was murdered, he was only 7 years old, came to live with me. And boy, I learned some experiences walking through that, bringing a child into the home who's grieving. My family was grieving. You know, I can talk about it now without all the heartache, because I feel like I've jumped over that hurdle and I've come to understand so many things spiritually that I never would have understood had that never happened. Not to say that it's good, but good came out of it. And that's what the Word of God teaches us, is that all things work together for good to them that love God and are the called according to his purpose. So, and I want to talk again just a little bit about the predestination, being conformed to the image of his Son. We are all here predestined. We come like from the factory already, with the hard drive included, that we know the Father and the Father knows us. That's why he says those whom he foreknew. There is a foreknowledge. And I think that we know ourselves according to our physical man more than we really do according to our spirit man, even though the spirit is eternal and there's really no beginning or ending to it. We think the day that we're born, that's our beginning. No, it's really not. It's just a beginning. It's not the beginning. So we walk through the course of life and we meet people, we have relationships with people, we share friendships with people. And sometimes I think that through those experiences, we sometimes suffer pain. Sometimes we feel we've been rejected. Sometimes we feel we've been misunderstood. You know, but the thing of it is that what you learn, what you derive from those experiences, and you grow and you learn. You don't hold yourself accountable to an old paradigm. I mean, it would really be no different than me saying, hey, when I was a 3-year-old, I used to color outside of the lines, and now as an adult, I'm going to be mad at that 3-year-old because, you know, she didn't know how to do this right. At the time, I was a child. I reasoned as a child. I spoke as a child. I thought like a child. But when I grew up, I did away with childish things. And I believe that we're always ever in the process of evolving and coming back to our origin, which really is love. It's not really that we need to learn something new. It's really unlearning because the experiences often taint us. They sometimes can jade us and make us believe that we're lesser than what we really are. If we don't believe ourselves to be the image and likeness of God in the earth, we don't know ourselves to have dominion over the works of his hands, we don't see ourselves as physical extensions of God himself, then we're missing the mark. But it doesn't mean we're damned. It doesn't mean that we're going to pay penance for it. It just means we'll suffer, and when we get sick and tired of being sick and tired, we wake up, we come to ourselves, and we learn to walk once again every day. You can dust yourself off and just say, I'm going to do better today than I did yesterday, because God's mercies are made new each and every morning. So again, I want to encourage you. Be blessed. Whatever it is that you may be going through right now, know that this too shall pass. And know yourself in the love of God. Know yourself as a child of God. Love your brethren. Extend the grace. Extend the mercy that's been extended to you. The more that you do that, the more it becomes a living reality for you too. So I just say, let's all just get on the bandwagon. Let's just agree that we're all connected. We're all part of the same consciousness, which is Christ. Let's all just agree that we're here, we're in this together, and let's try to bring our gifts, bring our contributions, share our talents with one another, and stop competing and comparing and condemning one another. Because really, when you do that, imagine it like this. Every emotion that you feel is energy, and that energy must flow through you before it touches someone else. So if you feel a feeling of discord with someone else, you're going to feel that. It's going to hinder you. It's going to affect you. That's why Jesus said, in effect, that if you don't forgive, Father can't forgive you. It's you that's actually holding yourself back. You're the one who holds yourself away from or aloof from the kingdom when you hold a judgment or unforgiveness in your heart toward your brother. So best bet is acknowledge that if something about your brother irks you, look at them like a mirror. They're there to show you an aspect of your own being, of your own personality, someplace maybe where the love is being blocked in you. And I'm not saying this in a condemning kind of way, because we've all been there. We've all been there. But we all also have received of his mercy. We've received of his grace. And when we stop stumbling and falling and start realizing these lessons are really meant for my good, they're meant to bring me back into complete harmony and restoration. You know, the work was finished before anything ever even took form. The work was finished. The Word of God says that he completed his work, and on the seventh day he rested. He ended his work. The whole host of heaven and earth were complete, and he rested. And now we have that the Christ in you, which is your hope of glory. That word hope doesn't mean I wish. It means I'm expecting. I'm expecting that the Christ will be completely formed in me, in my consciousness, and I will give expression to it. And the more that I lend my hands, my heart, my mind, my soul, my being to that which is the perfect will of God, which is what I really am. I am the will of God. I don't come here to do and to will of my good pleasure. I come to do and to will of his good pleasure. And there really is no other. There's only God. Our God is one. And in him we live and move and have our being. Lord, I just pray that this word, it just exonerates and lifts up and blesses each and every person who is within earshot. I pray that you have a most amazing day today. I pray that this word will just resonate within you and bring forth much fruit. Have a great day, guys.